Let's do business now on Joy News Prime with me, Beverly Broohm. The Bank of Ghana has indicated that it will go ahead to strictly enforce the zero financing of government's budgets for this year. That's if it secures the necessary approval for the Memorandum of Understanding from the Finance Ministry and Parliament in the coming weeks. There are concerns that approving the law in its current form could come with some immediate shocks for the economy. Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Philip Abradu-Otu, has been speaking with my colleague, George Weafe.
Just left with a pending of signatures. The statement rightly did indicate that we've worked with the Ministry of Finance to set that document in place. The two parties will just need to sign. So we need to move on the MOU. And then we need to move on the revenue measures which he spoke about.
Some will say that it could come with some real shocks for the economy in terms of a zero financing. In the past program, they looked at up to 5%. Has the Bank of Ghana thought through, whilst that may look good for the inflation numbers, there's also the real shocks of this to the monetary side of the economic side or the fiscal side of the economy? Well,
so if you look at the budget is setting a lot of revenue measures. And that is why, again, the governor did indicate in his statement that we need to get the revenue measures passed to take away that burden away from the central bank. And when those revenue measures are passed into law and government begins to get in all those revenues that it needs, there will be no need to resort to central bank financing.
Interesting.
So these are the reasons why.
The governor gave us some comfort in terms of when it comes to our reserve position, and he said that he's looking forward to a likely board meeting in April. Some have said maybe May is likely, rather.
Well, he said April. Yes, so that's it. Let's look towards the end of April. I mean, the prior actions that are left for us to deal with, I don't think are things that we cannot do.
Meanwhile, the economist Professor Lord Mensah says timing for the BOG zero financing policy is bad. He spoke earlier on Business Live.
In a year, it's not every time that government tax revenues, come in, as and when expected. And as a result of that, you always need that central bank financing. Central bank financing is not bad. I mean, with the exception of the developed world that you don't see that financing taking place. All the emerging market and the developing market, you see this central bank financing, taking place with, strong conditions. And usually you don't expect the tenure of such financing to go beyond 1 year. I think we have abused, that kind of financing that's supposed to exist, because we used to have 5% and we went beyond the 5%. I think in the COVID, the finance minister went to parliament to request for a takeoff of that law so that he can borrow beyond, the 5%. And since then, we've been abusing it. And I don't see any commitment from the finance minister to go and restore the law as expected. So that Fiscal Responsibility Act that restricts, government from borrowing at the central bank level, it's not being implemented well. And so for me, I would say that we have abused ours. There's nothing wrong, for a government to borrow from a central bank if the government is paying, the market rate for the borrowing. At the same time, the tenure of the borrowing does not exceed 1 year. I would say the timing may be wrong now to say strictly going for zero financing. Maybe somewhere 10%, financing will do for now.
The Ghana Revenue Authority engages business captains for their support to begin the full implementation of the Electronic Value Added Tax VAT system. This is part of a process by the authority to ensure all VAT payers are on the electronic system. More than 100 business chief executives are being engaged in this preliminary process. Commissioner of the Domestic Tax at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Edward Jamra believes that the pilot process has been successful, hence the need for the full rollout.
The engagement was for 600 business owners and chief executives to dialogue on the next stage of the electronic VAT implementation process. Concerns on confidentiality of their systems were raised since the Ghana Revenue Authority will be having access to the database of their sales operations. Commissioner for Domestic Tax, Edward Jamra, assured the officials of the authority are bound by law to protect information of their clients.
Taxpayer information has always been kept secret by the GRE, and for that matter by officers of GRE. We have provisions in the tax laws which debar any officer working for the Ghana Revenue Authority to disclose any taxpayer's information to a third party. A taxpayer information can be disclosed only when it is by order of court. Or is requested for purposes of revenue administration. Otherwise, no officer, and I say no officer, has the right to disclose any information. And therefore, we will still be guided by the same provision of keeping taxpayers' information secret.
He, however, described the just-ended pilot phase of the implementation program as a successful one.
Extremely successful. And as I indicated, I think the e-invoicing is what we all need to support. That is what can solve our VAT under declaration for us. So the first pilot has been extremely successful, and we think that that is the way we should go, and we need the support of every Ghanaian, everyone, to support this cause, for us to be able to raise the needed revenue for the development of the state.
Other business owners outside Accra are expected to be engaged as well before the full implementation begins.
Now, fuel prices will fall between 2 and 9% for the third consecutive time from April 1, with liquefied petroleum gas expected to witness its biggest decline in recent times. That's according to the Institute for Energy Security. It is attributing the drop to the stability of the cedi to the dollar and the easing of prices of finished products on the world market. Here's Nana Moisi VII, Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security.
Fuel consumers must expect another round of fuel price drops in the coming days. The imminent price drops is a reflection of happenings on the world fuel market over the past 2 weeks, which shows declines in prices of gasoline, gas oil, liquefied petroleum gas, and some other finished products. Over the period under assessment, the Ghana cedi also posted some stability against the dollar, another positive indication for motorists. So, on account of declines in world fuel prices over the last 14 days, and to some extent the cedi stability against the greenback, Ghanaians can expect some relief from the high fuel prices recorded in the past 6 months. Households that rely on LPG will be the most beneficiaries, as the commodity may post a hefty drop in price in the coming days.
We take a look at some other stories now. In the 53rd Annual General Meeting and Conference of the Ghana Institution of Engineering is underway in Takoradi, with a focus on developing solutions to engineering challenges confronting the country. The conference, on the theme Resilient Engineering for National Development, is therefore focused on looking at ways trained and certified engineers could collaborate with policymakers to address engineering challenges of Ghana. Areas the conference will be looking at includes flooding, renewable energy, sustainable mining practices, and environment, promoting women in engineering and engineering education and research for national development. Here's more.
Ghana, like many developing countries, is beveled with engineering challenges across all facets of our development. High incidence of shoddy work in the building of roads, schools, and drainage infrastructure, among others, has become order of the day. many questioning the role of engineers in the formulation, design, implementation, and certification of such projects. The president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Reverend Professor Charles Adam, called on engineers and engineering practitioners to play a more proactive role in shaping national development agenda through collaboration with stakeholders to ensure engineering consideration are factored into program.
Regulated and resilient engineering and infrastructure are basic prerequisites for any country's development and economic transformation. It is through the application of engineering, that is, engineers that will bring us, the knowledge will bring us engineers, the skills, the innovation, that we can create and maintain critical infrastructure necessary for economic development and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, as engineers, we have a critical role to play in achieving the sustainable goals of our country, and particularly to prepare our continent and our country to achieve the continental agenda, the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want.
The Omayini Office Kadonana Kobnanketia said the qualities embedded in the Ghana Institution of Engineering should manifest in their work in Ghana for all to see.
What's the meaning of Ghana to you? What matrix have we been caught up in that this institution that you have, you are members of, in Sekedi Takrady, the city of liberation? What are you going to do to the matrix? Are you going to consolidate it? Are you going to compound it? Or are you going to make it better or liberate it? I'll leave that also to you. And by doing that, you refer to yourself as Ghana what? Institution. What is the meaning of the word Ghana to you? So you ask yourself, what is the Ghanaian character? When you say I am, Mara Yumara, I am that I am, what does it mean? Whose identity? What am I manifesting?
For his part, the Western Regional Minister, Kobna Treda Commenter, said the time has come for Ghana Institution of Engineering as a body to develop technologies for affordable concrete road, agriculture, machinery, city planning for the benefit of the country.
I believe that it is time our engineers build technology that can help us survive this. I believe that it is time that our engineers move their education from newspaper publications to community-based education so that our miners can learn and use the technologies that will make sure that our environment are not degraded, but sustainable mining practices that can keep this nation going forward.
Attendance at the conference are delegates from West and Eastern Africa, as well as professional bodies. Election will also be conducted to elect new executives in Athalia Kwanza, Joy Business, Western Region.
Now, the Development Bank of Ghana has disclosed that procedures are underway to roll out a partial credit guarantee product for commercial banks. According to the Deputy CEO of DBG, Mr. Michael Mensah, the partial credit guarantee product is to encourage private financial institutions to invest in local ventures that will help build the economy. He was speaking at the DBG UGBS Development Finance Series here in Accra.
Speaking at the DBG UGBS Development Finance Series on the theme, Deepening Development Finance Knowledge, Innovations and Impact, Deputy Chief Executive of the Development Bank of Ghana, Michael Mensah, said procedures are underway to roll out the partial credit guarantee product for commercial banks.
So one of the things that we intend to do is that although DBG has access to low funding or low cost funding, we don't intend to use only our funding to intervene in the market. We want to encourage also the PFIs or the banks to also use their own funding to invest. And one way of doing that is to share the risk of the investment with them. So the partial credit guarantee product allows the banks to invest in certain risky areas such as agribusiness and allow them to share the risk with us. And by so doing, the banks themselves would use their own funding. And together, using our funding and using the bank's funding, we'll be able to make a much more significant impact.
Already, the Development Bank of Ghana has announced its interest to bridge the financial gap facing the agricultural sector in the country. Touching more on this intent, Mr. Mensah Ban said his outfit has invested 300 million cedis into agribusiness, manufacturing and tourism.
Since we launched last year, we have actually invested in the agribusiness, manufacturing and tourism up to 300 million cedis. We intend to invest 500 million cedis into 4 key commodities. That's the soya bean, maize, rice and poultry. And the reason for that is that we believe that by so doing, if the investment in those commodities are successful, this will enhance food security in Ghana.
Reacting to the introduction of a guaranteed product, the managing director of CBG, Daniel Adu, considered it as a very thoughtful step. He explained that the policy would bring about risk sharing, therefore commercial banks would unlock their liquidity when investing.
Absolutely, it unlocks a lot of funding. You see, there's the different ways of providing finance, like I said. So you can either do direct lending or the partial credit guarantee that they're doing. That partial credit guarantee, again, speaks to something I said about when I spoke, and it's about sharing the risk with the PFI, right? So that guarantee from DBG then allows me to unlock liquidity. He sort of covered my credit risk to some extent, sharing credit risk with me, right? And so it allows me to go out and lend more, much more than I normally will if I was worried about credit risk.
DBG has in the meantime signed an MOU with the University of Ghana Business School to gather evidence-based research on the core issues the country faces and explore tailor-made solutions to address them.
Now, MTN Ghana Foundation has launched an enterprise to support, to cushion small businesses in the country to expand and create employable opportunities for the youth. According to the Economic Empowerment Advisor of MTN Foundation, Cynthia Mills, the initiative will provide SMEs with support to scale up their business. Here's more.
Current economic conditions in the country have made access to funding a major challenge for some businesses. In view of this, MTN Foundation, in partnership with InnoHub, has launched a Ghana Enterprises Support Program to assist businesses. The businesses will receive seed funding to grow their ventures. Speaking at the launch of the initiative, Economic Empowerment Advisor of MTN Foundation, Cynthia Mills, said the initiative is geared towards building the capacity of small businesses' contribution to job creation.
When we look at our ecosystem, we have a lot of people who do businesses, but they lack the support and sometimes the training to be able to scale up or bring the project to fruition. So that's why the MTN Ghana Foundation board approved this project to assist with training and also seed capital, and not just leave them, but will be with them to make sure that these businesses grow. The youth also have so many ideas, but they lack funding and support to be able to shape their program. So at the end of this program, we're looking at creating viable businesses in Ghana.
CEO of InnoHub, Nelson Amo, added that the initiative would help to sustain livelihoods through job creation.
End of the day, what we want to say is how many of these businesses we supported are growing in revenues, growing in numbers, and creating jobs. For us, job creation is a cardinal point when we want to see success of this project. So ultimately, we want this project to contribute to job creation. So if in 5 years we have 500 businesses supported, we should be able to count close to 2,000 jobs created at the barest minimum by these businesses. Ultimately, we want to see how many of these businesses could double or increase in their revenues and, as it were, just survive and grow to the next stage. Because if I receive 10,000 cedis now, in the next 2 years, I might be able to show growth and therefore be eligible for like a 50,000 or 100,000. So we want to see that incremental growth in the trajectory of these businesses over the period.
MTN Foundation is committing an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis to cushion the businesses that would be selected. Jesse Ayram Agbapo's report read to you.
That's all for business tonight. Thank you so much for your time here on Joy News Prime. For more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broohm. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.